Hey, welcome to another great episode of The Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Wednesday evening, June 25th. Let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Glad to be back with another great episode. I have a great guest waiting in the wings, so I'm not going to keep her much longer. But before I bring her on, you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple, YouTube. We're on BS3 Live, BS3TVLive.com, BS3 Network, Roku channel. Download the app. You can find all the shows there, all the podcasts there. We have something for everyone. So BS3TVLive.com, BS3 Network, Roku channel as well. We're on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, like I said, wherever you can get podcasts, wherever you consume your podcast. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram or X, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok. I'm all over. So if you get the real deal, you type that in or Courtney Harden, you'll find me on all those platforms. So let me bring in my guest. I'm very excited to have this particular guest on. Been trying to get her on for a little bit, and we made it happen. And I'm so glad I'm getting ready to, to interview her, to have a conversation with her. And I'm very excited once again. McKenzie Kane. Let's see, what doesn't she do? That's the thing. She is Sideline Reporter, she's a student athlete. And now she's officially has signed on about a week ago, weekend sports anchor MMJ at WJHL TV in Johnson City, Tennessee. Just graduated as well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That. So did I get everything that you do, your resume a little bit?
It's hard for me to keep track nowadays.
Yes. So, but you do a lot, which is great. And you do so much tremendous work. What I've seen in the background, like you said, you edited, anchor. We're going to get into all that, produced, countless sports packages, sideline interviews. You did a lot of everything. So again, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Courtney, I am so excited to be here. Thank you for helping put this together. I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you on. And again, and you played tennis, golf. I'm sorry, golf. Yep, that's my bad. Golf. I knew that. Yes, and golf, and and student athlete and all that too. So again, really appreciate you coming on. I really do appreciate that.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yes. So let me, my first question I always ask my first time guest is, who is McKenzie Kane and how'd you get into sports, the love of sports and things like that?
Oh, it's a great question. Because depending on the day, I give a different answer.
Okay. Yes.
But I was born and raised in Connecticut. And then in 7th grade, my family and we moved down to just outside the Tampa Bay area in Florida. And then I ended up splitting the difference between Connecticut and Florida for college. And I went to Washington and Lee in Virginia. Like you just mentioned, I just graduated about 4 weeks ago. I'm officially an alumni. It's hard to say.
Yeah, alumni. Yeah.
Like you said, I was a 4-year member of the women's golf team. And I was the school sideline reporter. I produced and anchored for the student newscast. Let's see. I started my own podcast. I hosted a Friday night radio show on campus. I was sort of anything on campus with a microphone. I was usually the one attached to it. I ended up doing social media promos for all the different sports teams. And to answer your question of why I fell in love with sports, it was sort of the family I was born into. My mom, my dad, my brother, they were all collegiate athletes. I remember, just Saturday or Sunday evenings watching football with the family. Yeah. My mom was the one teaching me. It was fun to be able to sit on the couch with both parents and have them both tell you different elements of the game. To have both parents equally invested in sports. My mom would make obstacle courses for me in the backyard. My dad would teach me my free throw form. And it was sort of the family I was born into. It was inevitable that I would have a love for sports growing up.
For sure. And it shows too of what all the things you've been doing and continue to do and things like that too. So I'm looking forward to see y'all, continue to keep growing and just in the background and everything too. So yeah, so that's I mean, great background. You said you kind of just it was a family, love sports and things like that. So now all the things you have done this so far, how do you feel, like you said, just depends on the day, the balance of that as well, if we could even use that word. I mean, I know it's hard to kind of explain how you balance all those things, but it's good to know how to do certain things, especially in sports journalism and media and all that too. So, but how do you feel like you how the balance of that, of doing so many things?
Yeah, it changes with the season for sure. Fall football season. Well, I mean, with women's golf, we actually had 2 official collegiate seasons. We had a fall season and a spring season. So my one real true break was winter, which was up in Lexington basketball season. So I'd always dive in headfirst to men's and women's basketball. It wasn't easy, I will admit, figuring out the schedule, the calendar. My cousin Lindsay actually gifted me this 365-day calendar. That's all, every single day on one sheet of paper. So I would map out every single athletic event, every single game on the schedule at the beginning of the year, just so I'd have a general idea of where I wanted to be and when. I would actually communicate with my coach. She was super supportive about knowing what my passions were, saying, hey, coach, can I get the early tee time in today's qualifying so I can catch the back half of the men's soccer game? And she would always accommodate me. So I was very appreciative of that. But it's crazy because saying that out loud, I am the least organizational person in the world. I am terrible at being organized. But when there's something you're truly passionate about and excited about, you figure out the way to balance it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I probably can contend with you with being organized, but we both have podcasts, so we both have done podcasts. So I think you said the passion you have to have a little bit of organization with that too. I guess when I reach out to my guests, I write down the dates and the time, because each day or every other day that I do the podcast, I have to say, okay, who would I have? And because I'll set it up weeks ahead, sometimes a week or two ahead, so I can know. So I have to write it down and check mark. I can do it on my phone, but I write it down, and I was like, oh yeah, yes, I got my here we go. So I get it of trying to stay organized when it comes to that too. But now you said you just graduated. Any plans that you're doing? As you said, you just graduated just recently. But talk about your experience though in college and things like that before, and then we'll get into what's next. But talk about how that all came about. Just being in college, being a student athlete. The pros and cons of that, and just what you got coming up next as well.
Definitely. So. Oh gosh. I actually didn't know I wanted to go into the world of sports media until the summer going into my sophomore year of college. So I ended up sending a cold email to the school's executive producer of the student-run newscast. He was a professor at the school. His name is Kevin Finch. Eternally grateful for everything he's taught me. But I sent him a cold email asking him if we could have a conversation, sit down. So we sat down in front of the little tables in front of the library, and I said, you've got a great student newscast on your hands, but your sports segments, they're lacking a little bit. And I ended up pitching him the role of a sideline sports reporter, or just someone doing a beat on sports features, because they didn't really have anything like that before. And he said, you know what, we can give you a 90-second time slot each show and a camera, go crazy, and we'll give you feedback along the way. So that's exactly what I did. I took the name of the person he told me to go get the camera from, went up to his office, and I did a crash course on how to use a video camera. Then I went to the athletic communications building, or the athletic building, and I went around to every single one of the coaches' offices, knocked on their doors, and said, hey, I know you don't know me. My name is McKenzie. If I ask you at the end of every game, would you answer a question or two? Would you be interested in doing a sideline interview? will you shoo me away? Is that something you'd ever be willing to do? And they said, yeah, absolutely. So I ended up getting an email later on that day from the athletic communications director. Her name's Sydney Anderson, saying, hey, McKenzie, I heard you were going around to all the coaches. There's actually a system of how we're supposed to do this. You're supposed to go through the SIDs. You can't just go straight to the coaches. So she sat me down, told me the process. She guided me through every step of the way. I'm so grateful because she taught me what the college athletic communication system looks like at any level. But I am so glad I did that because that introduced me to a great team of people who taught me how to, schedule each interview. They gave me the passes, the credentials I needed for every game. And it's kind of taken off from there. It's been a blast.
Yeah, it just shows your persistence. You said try to go right straight through, but it's like, hey, I want to do this. Like, what does it take? And you were able to get that, and the connections. I'm sure that was like very valuable as well. For
Definitely.
sure. Yes, for sure. And now, like you said, now as a graduate alum, as you said,
scary word.
Yeah. But okay, how does it feel now? Like you said, you graduated, and now it's like, okay, all right, let's what's next and everything too. Now you said now you've got to be a sports anchor and sports reporter. But tell us anything. Tell us how that all came about.
Sure. So I graduated without any idea where I was headed. Mm-hmm. I actually made a pretty memorable impression on my graduating class because my brother was in the audience, and as I walked across the stage, shook the hand of the president, grabbed my degree, he shouted into the crowd, "Hey, somebody hire her." And everyone started laughing, and I said, "Yes, please listen."
Yes, that's real, right? Real. That's a real moment.
Yes. I had some people nudge each other, saying, "Yeah, me too." But with a school like Washington and Lee, that's so focused on like the business, the accounting, the finance majors who all have jobs set up before their junior year, or at least by the end of their junior year, they already know where they're headed. I was a little intimidated, not knowing where I would go next. I obviously had super supportive parents that said, you know what, you're welcome to come home for however long you need. And whenever you do find that next step for you, we'll be here to support you. You'll always have a home here. So I remember maybe 2-3 weeks ago, one Wednesday, I'm like, all right, let's lock in. I'm going to apply to every single open sports anchor, sports reporter position across every single media group I can think of. I think I applied to about 45, 50 different positions throughout 48 hours. And I ended up getting a couple of responses, one within 20 minutes. And then probably by the end of the 48 hours, I had 4 different responses that I was stoked because before going into that day, I had 0. So that's when I started getting a little bit of an idea of, you know what? All that hard work that you put in those past 4 years, people are noticing it, and they're noticing it quickly. And I was super proud of myself for that. But like you mentioned, Johnson City, WJHL, they reached out to me. I had my first interview with the news director. He told me about the position. I tried to sell myself as best as I could. And then I ended up connecting with their head of the sports department. I started doing a lot more research on the area. Tennessee sports, it's hard to say no to. They've got a lot of fun action up there. Yeah. And especially because it's so close to where I had just spent the last 4 years in Lexington, Virginia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's 3 hours south of it. I'm still in the mountains. Right. It's familiar territory for me. So I feel like it was just, I feel like it was the best jump from what I've been doing these past couple of years. And I'm really excited to get into it.
I bet you are. Yeah, I remember when I saw your on LinkedIn when you announced it, and I know we were already talking before to setting this up, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect timing. But congratulations first and foremost.
Thank you.
On that. Yeah, congrats on that, and that shows because everyone that's in this, whether it's sports media or news, weather, whatever it is, and you apply for different positions. And I've heard it just by, interviewing a lot of people, different people, they say it's, you put in for so many jobs, put in for so many positions, and it's a competitive field in the anchoring and reporting and media and everything too. But you said you got something in within 20 minutes, an answer. Sometimes you don't even get that, I've heard stories of they apply for hundreds of positions, hundreds of jobs, and everything too, because it is a very competitive field. But you got, like I said, you got some offers and emails back, and that's great. That's I love hearing that too, because it's like okay, I'm getting something each time and everything too. Because a lot of some people will just they'll either they'll stop pursuing, or they'll just say, oh man, they feel deflated about it and things like that. But you just kept trying and kept going, so that just shows you again your persistence.
And I had no direction. I didn't know what to do once I had that first person reach out in 20 minutes. I went upstairs and I asked my dad, I'm like, do I have to give him an answer right now? What do I do next?
Yeah.
And I ended up calling one of my professors asking for some guidance. How do I play this? And he told me, I love the analogy he used. He said, you're not going to say yes to every single person who ever asks you on a date, but you can. And that's the same mentality you have to go into the job hunt with. Some people will reach out to you. And if it's something that you don't think is the right step, you got to be upfront with them and say, I appreciate your time, but I think it's best if you look somewhere else. And then you can put your focus and your effort into what might be the next best step for you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's great advice too, in a lot of ways, because you said a lot of the sports media in general and journalism. I want to ask you about the future of it. What you think of it? And it's there's good, and there's just great, and then there's some not so great. But that's just the way it is. It's how it's been as well. But again, there's still good positions and good things that can happen in journalism. I love it. I love seeing it grow and everything too. But asking you that, what's your position on journalism? To look at just sports in general, sports journalism, sports media, where it's going and everything too. What's your take on it? Because there's social media can be a good thing and a bad thing. It can be toxic. It can be great. Yeah. It can be really good. There's a lot of different. This is toxic to say the least. And but in general, like there's the storytelling of things. I think that's still important. But in your perspective, what do you think of the future of journalism and sports media?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it right there with the role social media is playing. It's the world of journalism is increasingly shaped by the influence of social media. It's acting right now as both a distribution tool, which I think is great, and a background for credibility. For some reason, it's like people are following these journalists, or people who aren't even journalists, but just because they have threefold the number of followers, they're going to find them to be more credible in terms of what information they're relaying.
Yeah.
And there's one person who I think is doing a fantastic job at showcasing what the future of journalism in sports looks like, and that's Daryl Barnes. He won the 2024 Jim Nantz Award. He's 1 year older than me. He's working for Front Office Sports right now, but what he's doing in terms of digital journalism, he's using everything about social media that's so addictive and eye-catching. It's the quick little graphics and the short 90-second videos, but he's using it to explain real events going on in the world of sports. And I'm just in awe of that seamless blend that I really have tried to emulate it in what I've been doing for the past year at WNL, and how I want to showcase my digital platform, how I want to tell stories. And it's kind of fun to see the traditional sports feature broadcast package can be shifted to fit a social media platform, whether it's X or Instagram. I mean TikTok's blowing up, but it's a learning process. It's something that no one has really mastered yet, and no one knows what the future truly holds. I just know that social media is going to be this huge platform for especially us youngsters whose attention spans are just fleeting by the day.
Yeah, and you're right. I think like reels and all those things, that that's been I have a I won't say a love-hate relationship with the reels, but because I love long-form journalism.
Absolutely.
I love the storytelling, but I think you can get it in both. You can get something in a 2-minute reel, or you can get something in a 20 or 30-minute interview. Like, I mean, if you want the in-depth, that's what I cater to when it comes to that. But I understand because it evolves, journalism, and you said digital media especially. You have to know that, like, if you're getting into this business or anything, podcasting or content creating or anything like that, you have to, you got to learn the ins and outs of, like I said, reels and those shorts, 2 minutes, and you nailed it right there. Digital media, it's always evolving, and you got to really keep up on that too. And that's front office sports is doing big things anyway. And they're doing long form, they're doing short form, they're doing a lot of different things, and they're really that company itself is really has really set the bar, especially for, you said, sports digital journalism and media. So it's always, we always got to keep our eyes open when it comes in, and everything, our ears to the streets, as they say. We got to keep that always, because things are just always ever changing.
And it's interesting to think about the role social media has played in the immediacy of when we're getting this information.
Yes.
Because, I'll think about all the different trades that happened within 24 hours of the NFL trade deadline. We knew about them in real time. And I actually remember being in class, or we were in that 10-minute transition period between classes. Every single person in my class of like 12 people had their phones out, and they're like, oh my gosh, Patriots just made sure. Oh my gosh, Steelers, Ravens. And they were just seeing who could refresh their phone fast enough. It wasn't a matter of who's finding the story, it's who's getting the notifications, versus however many years ago, or not even years ago, but to sit down and write a long form story about these different trades, it's delaying the amount of time it takes to relay that information to the audience, to the people, to the fans that want to hear it. But at the same time, those long form reels that I know you had the love-hate relationship with, that I have a love-hate relationship with them too, because of how long they take to edit.
But yes. That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other can of worms.
No, for real.
I wish I could edit a 2-minute reel, 90-second reel in the same amount of time I could edit a long form feature story. Because when people have really honed in on the trade, they can knock them out quickly. And it's a delicate balance, like you said. We brought up that word earlier, and it's interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I mean, my wife always talks about, she said, the reels, the shorts, like, you got to get people's attention a couple minutes sometimes. Yeah, and you're right, like 30 seconds, a minute, that the attention spans waver. And when we're scrolling through Instagram and we're going through our TikTok, and you're just like, oh, 30 seconds, minute, 30 seconds, minute. And I had to adjust to that. It's like, okay, I get it. So I embrace it. I embrace all because I have to, being in this, in podcasting, I have to, but you're right. It's the editing. That's the thing. Like, I'll take, like, even with this video, I'll take it. I usually take the next day and find a clip or two and say, okay, that was the best part, or that's that was a really good answer that McKenzie said. So I'm going to use that 2 minutes to edit. But yeah, editing is that's other form of something. We can have a class on editing and say, how did you get that so quickly?
It teaches you a lot of patience, for sure.
It does teach you a lot of patience.
I wish it was I wish I had 30 seconds to capture whether or not a viewer is going to watch the rest of my video, because from what I've seen, it's the first 5 seconds of whether or not someone's going to decide whether or not they want to watch the rest of whatever this person has to say. So the examples that I've been doing for the promos, the social media promos I did for Washington and Lee Athletics, I had one for women's basketball, one for wrestling, one for baseball. And I had to make the first 5 seconds flashy or catchy. So for women's basketball, I did my little stand up, and I had to make a shot behind my back. And you saw it in the frame. I'm talking to the camera and I throw it up. I'm not going to admit how many tries it took me, but once it finally went in, it was so much fun. And I got a lot of good feedback on that. And for baseball, I had to throw it up, hit a dinger, and give my spiel at the same time. But it's fun to kind of let your creative side shine through, because that's something you really can't do on those traditional news packages or the old school style of sports feature storytelling, because it's not as much about the flashiness and the theatrics as it is the actual storyline, which I think is beautiful, but it kind of sometimes you want to let your creativity flow through.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, you're right. That's another thing. Just the creativity and like there's so many content creators you talked about. Um, Not just traditional sports journalism, but content creating and things like that. And it's interesting because you said you can have real journalists and I went to school for 4 years and got a position as like a sports anchor and things like that. But then you have those content creators who have thousands and thousands of followers and even their creativity. I think it all blends together
Yeah.
as well. So I do like where journalism and sports media is going as well. But yeah, social media is a big part of that. Is a huge part. Might be the main part of its growth too. So
And one thing I love is the fact that it's bringing a younger generation, or it's getting
yes.
kids more involved in sports.
Mhm.
It's growing their love for sports at an earlier age than it was for the past decade. And I say that like I can even like I've even lived more than 2 decades. But it's fun to see people in elementary school. It's scary to see people in elementary school how much time they're spending on social media,
Yeah.
but the fact that it's being used as a medium to connect them to their favorite teams and their favorite athletes sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's some of the positives of that too. You're right. It is scary how much they spend on their phones and everything too. 8-year-olds have phones but they're using yeah, that's yeah. I can't imagine when I was 8 I did that what it would have been like 10 years old and you have cell phone. But yeah, but social media you got to really be on that, especially if you're going to get into this type of business or in sports media. So yeah, so I got to ask you about your golf career
Yep.
and WNL women's golf alum that you are. Talk about the love of that and being a student athlete with them as well. And I saw a lot of your golf videos and things like that too. So talk about the love of golf.
You got it. That was another sport. That was probably the main sport that was introduced to me by my parents and my brother. I come from a golf family. That was our favorite way to
Yeah.
really get together. It was family golf outings. I remember picking up my first club at 4 years old, and then I entered my first tournament when I was 10. Started up in Connecticut, and then when I when the family moved down to Florida, it really up the intensity because Florida golf and Connecticut golf are not the same,
Yes, yes,
competition wise,
right,
particularly.
right.
But I really sort of locked in, as the kids say, in high school and knew I wanted to pursue collegiate golf as part of my future. I will say my golf game peaked in high school my senior year, which frankly was a great time to have it peak because it meant that I could have the opportunity to play college golf. Because
Yeah.
when I went up to Virginia, I learned that that these beautiful retirement friendly Florida golf courses that I was used to playing
Mm.
weren't going to cut it up in Virginia when they're in the middle of the mountains. I have to learn about undulation and the difference in hills. But
Mm.
honestly, I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed to have been able to be a 4-year collegiate athlete, but I'm also grateful that I wasn't good enough to the point where I'm sacrificing every single weekend or what is it, 5-6 weekends per semester traveling with the team, because it meant I was able to attend every football game at home, every soccer game, and be on the sidelines and interview those coaches, which I wouldn't have the luxury of doing if I was traveling to a bunch of those tournaments.
Yeah.
I was just a cheerleader for the women's golf team. I showed up to every practice, every qualifier. I would try my best. I would always want to travel, but I knew where my abilities stood in comparison to my teammates. And I would shine a light on them whenever I could. I loved getting the free merch for sure.
I bet. There's probably a lot of it too, I'm
Oh,
sure.
it was awesome. And WNO blue, everyone looks good in royal blue.
Yeah, I
So
got my royal blue
you
on
got
too.
your
I saw
exactly.
you had it on. I was like,
You're
I
repping
gotta
the right
put it on.
colors.
Yes, I got the colors. Yes.
Exactly. So the fact that I was able to continue the sport I love in college without as much pressure on me as a lot of college athletes face with,
Mhm.
whether or not they're going to keep their scholarship if they play well enough, whether or not they want to pursue the NIL track. I was able to find a balance, which that's the third time we mentioned this word.
Yes,
It's
the
the
word
word.
of the day. Yeah.
I was able to find a balance between what I wanted to do with my future, with my career, where my passions lie, and kind of rank what were my priorities. My number one priority, academics for sure, whatever my career would aspire, whatever I aspired to be, and then golf came third, which if I ended up putting it first, maybe I would have been traveling, but it wasn't my number one focus. It's definitely something I want to continue and take into the next chapter of my life. There's a bunch of great golf courses in Tennessee. I'll be sure to bring my clubs, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not looking to go pro anytime soon.
Okay. All right. Well, that's but like you said, you have the love of golf. It's interesting. You brought up Florida golf, and knowing how much golf is priority in Florida, just with the courses and the beautiful courses, the nice courses there, and all over Florida. One of my coworkers, she lives in Florida. She lives in Orlando, and she's always saying, you got to come down. You got to come down just to, watch tournaments or anything like that. Because I love golf, and so watching it. I don't play it. I want to start getting into it, but as I get older, I've been talking about, man, I want to because there's a lot of good golf courses here in Philadelphia too. Just driving by and just watching and seeing like, oh my God, there's another golf course. They just had the Truist here as well just recently. And the US Open is here next year. Yeah, next year, which I'm excited. I'm ready to go to my first big golf tournament, hopefully next year. But anyway, but Florida, you said, is almost like you said, like the Mecca.
It's the hot spot. Absolutely.
It's the hot spot. Right. Hot spot, and you said I just couldn't stay away, right? You just said I had to play.
And it was awesome because right after school, the seniors, when I was a freshman, they were driving me to golf practice every single day like clockwork. It was 9 holes after class. I would get home pretty late, but I would get home with an even par under my belt.
Yeah.
I would get home with a good 9 holes under my belt, and I would walk into the next day pretty excited. But we talked about it a little bit before in terms of the weather. Florida weather was a little rough this time of year because every single day you're dealing with those torrential thunderstorms. It taught me a little bit of resilience on the golf course too. My favorite rounds were always played in the rain, but got me used to Florida weather real quick.
Okay. All right. Well, my next question would be, what's your golf game like? Are you, scrambler, great putter, driver? Like, what would you say a couple of your strong suits of your golf game?
I mean, my putter has always been my go-to. It's been what's kept me alive. It's what's got me to the collegiate level because I am a scrambler at heart. I have the inability to tone down my swing, to have good tempo because I approach every single shot like it's a long drive contest.
Okay.
I want to show off. It's the inner athlete in me because my parents put me in every single sport. I love golf, but it's not as, fast paced and as brute strength as all the other ones.
Yeah.
And that was hard for me to swallow at such an early age. And when I did finally hit that sweet spot, when my game was at its best, I wish I was able to, bottle it up and carry it into college with me, or if I could, emulate it now. But it was always my iron game that I had the hardest time with. I couldn't hit a green if it was to save my life. I wish, but I always had fun with it. It was my short game. It was my putting stroke. I looked at putts as though they were like a math equation for some reason, and I would count them out, and I would look at my toe-to-toe putt, and I would just guess it in my head, and it made sense to me in my mind, and I wish I could take what I understood or my philosophy about putting and bring it into an iron game aspect, but I am still working on that. And, if I do ever figure it out, I'll see you on tour.
There you go. You turn pro, right?
I don't know if that made any sense. I'm so sorry.
No, it made a lot of sense. That's why I was asking, like, what part of your game is like, what do you feel like is your favorite part of your game? And no, it's very interesting that you said putting and but it's like I said it's just that the balance again balance
Oh,
just
balance. I'll be a
that,
beast at mini golf though.
yeah, right. Yes, you'll be
Yep.
sure you're a
I'd
beast at
bring my
mini
own
golf.
putter.
Yeah,
It's
bring your own
scary.
putter, and they're like, I'm just gonna put. I'm just putting all day, and everything too. But no, that's great. I love that. It's like I was just a putter, and then so I'm going out there. I'm just hitting long drives, and that's all I
Oh,
want to
it's the
do.
best. That's all I
And
want to
everything.
do.
That's all you want to do. Just show off that long drive game and that power and everything too. You ever thought about getting into the long drive
I
competition?
really did. I
Hmm.
thought about it for a long time,
Okay.
and then I realized that there's so much behind the scenes work that goes into the long drive world. It's a lot of, you know, cracking down in the gym and getting strong upper body strength, getting a strong core. And I thought, oh, if I just swing really, really fast, I can hit it farther. And that's just not the case. And it's all mechanics. I love watching all the long drivers. I think
Yeah.
maybe one day if I loosen up the gears a little more, I can enter a long drive competition and see how it goes. But right now I need to get the irons locked down. I need to
Yeah.
hit a green is what I need to do.
Right. You're talking more of just your all around game, just getting it toned in a little bit more, and yeah. But it looks like I mean, you said you're great at it, so and everything too. I mean, student athlete, you gotta be, so you
It's
gotta be really
I
good.
think the best analogy is a pitcher. Do you want someone who's throwing, I guess, well, nowadays, like low 90s fastballs
Yeah.
consistently in the strike zone, or do you want someone who can get up to the triple digits, but they're wild? And
Mhm.
that's something I need to I need to learn how valuable the strike zone can be sometimes.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt. Yep. So, all right. Well, I just got a couple more. I'm really enjoying this. And wanted to go back and to the journalism. Who were some of the sports reporters or journalists or in media that you I would say look up to, but that you admire, or some of your favorite
Mhm.
on any sport? It could be whatever, golf or basketball, or what are some of your other favorite sports that you like to in general?
I'm a huge football fan. I love
Mhm.
watching, the NFL. I love watching the PGA because
Yeah,
golf has always been what I grew up with.
right.
I love college basketball a lot. That's
Okay.
something that I really haven't given a lot of time and effort into following until this past year, and I'm excited to get into it this year.
Hmm.
I mean, I'll always shout out WNL Athletics, the D3
No
ODAC.
doubt.
That's what I follow the most.
No
But
doubt. Yeah.
yeah, women's basketball, I had a lot of fun with, especially at WNL this past year. But I don't know. I like to try and get an understanding of all different sports instead of a deep dive into a singular one, a
Yeah.
specific specialty.
No doubt, no doubt. And any journalist
Oh
that
yeah.
yeah, no, any journalist or anybody in sports media that you said that you admire or that you follow, or have even met or interviewed yourself. Anybody that's some of your favorites.
There's a ton in terms of uh probably the person who had one of the biggest impacts on me in terms of my mentality coming out of college is Kaylee Hartung, because
Mm,
she is a Washington and Lee alum.
yeah.
And I always feared that all of the most successful sideline reporters, media personalities, particularly women, came out of Power Five conferences, came out of the SEC, came
Yeah.
out of the Big Ten, ACC, because they were working with those programs all throughout college. I was scared that coming out of a D3 program, a D3 school, I wasn't going to get any recognition because we didn't
Mm,
have an established sports media department or a major for that matter.
right.
And she was proof to me, living proof that, you can make it big coming out of these small schools as long as you have the initiative and the drive to do so. If you really want to commit yourself to learning the trade and saying yes to every opportunity, you can do it. And Kaylee showed me that there really is no limit. She's working the Today Show right now, Amazon Prime, Thursday Night Football.
Yep.
Kudos to her. And I did get to meet her. I interviewed her and Troy Aikman actually
Wow.
in 2024 in March in front of the school, which was a huge blessing because
Yeah.
meeting people who are on the top stage, who are on the national level, and finding out that they're great people, finding out that they're down to earth, they're happy to give you advice and help you along the way. It's truly eye-opening about the impact you can have on other people when you move forward.
I bet you that was a really good, amazing time, and like I said, amazing thing that you did for, you said just to be able to interview them and pick their brain, or just being, and they said just being there with them and learning about their journey and everything too. I'm sure that was like one of your biggest highlights so far.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you always hear, don't meet your heroes, but when you do and they turn out to be such fantastic people, it's so rewarding. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% on that. All right, though. I only got couple more.
Oh, I do. I have to shout out some other people,
Yeah,
some other sports journalists. In particular, Dave Gorin with the NSMA, he's given me more opportunities than I can, the opportunities that frankly I don't deserve right now as a college student. Are you kidding me? He's let me shadow football sidelines with him. He's set me up with some fantastic interviews throughout the NSMA. I'm actually headed to the conference for them, their award ceremony national conference, in a couple of days, and it's going to be this weekend, and I'm stoked for that. And it actually connected me with more sports writers and broadcasters in the community that I never would have had the opportunity to do so. I also have to shout out my next door neighbor, Rick Stroud. He's the beat reporter for the Buccaneers, and he brought me along to spring training camp. He introduced me to people that were able to connect me in the industry. I got to see behind the scenes on a professional level and sit in on my first press conference with professional athletes. The most starstruck I've ever been was I think 2, maybe 3 years ago, summer training camp. I sat in on the press conference. I was in the second row, and Tom Brady's at the mic, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a sophomore in college, 10 feet away from Tom Brady, and it's amazing to see the kind of opportunities you have as a college student and to capitalize on them. It's something I'll tell everyone. And the younger you are, the more likely people will help you out. And the second you graduate, a lot of doors will close. So you have to seize the opportunities while you can.
Yeah, for sure. That's so true. You got to, you have to, and you said just those opportunities, and you have to take advantage of those opportunities, because you just don't know what's next, or if you get, hopefully you do get more opportunities like that. But you said you take full advantage when you do have those opportunities. And just a question off that, like the networking and the connection, how important is that? Just explain that, because it's very important to be able to network. Because we connected on Instagram and LinkedIn, and the connection, and it's very important, because that's another thing with social media that's really good about, is connecting with others that are in the same space. But talk about that. You said that the connecting, and have other people helping you along your journey as well.
Absolutely. And I have to preface, do as I say, not as I do, because I'm really bad sometimes when it comes to keeping up with the connections. But I learned, one, you're always representing your own brand. You always want to sell yourself with every single person you meet. And I also learned the value of maintaining those connections, or the fact of the matter is, maintaining those connections is harder than forming them to begin with. And sometimes you don't want to just have that superficial layer of, I'm only adding you to my network in case I need something one day. I've learned that, you can't just reach out to someone because you need them to do something for you. So, one of my favorite reporters with ESPN, Heather Dinich, her sons were just in a lacrosse tournament, and I sent her an email saying, best of luck to your kids. I hope you guys do all kill it out there.
Right.
And it's the small things of just, catching up. I sent out a bunch of text messages, a bunch of emails to my network saying, thank you so much. I just want to give you this update on my life. I just signed with a new job in Tennessee. I want to say how impactful you have been on my journey, how much you've taught me along the way. And this is proof that it's come to fruition. But in terms of building that network, there's one person who I haven't shouted out yet that I need to, and that's my mom. She is my biggest cheerleader by far. I don't give her enough credit, but she is networking for me almost more than I'm networking for myself. Every single person she comes into contact with, she's like, oh, you know what? You should definitely, you should check out my daughter's content, all of her interviews. And
Yes.
she has made so many connections for me. She's like, hey, I just met this person. She went to the PGA show in Orlando while I was still up in school, and she went to it saying, I met this person. They were super interested, sent them an email, and she's been incredible in terms of letting me shine and grow as a reporter, as a student, as an athlete, and as a person.
Yeah, love that. And yes, our family, you got to have that strong support system, and along the way. And you said that's part of the journey. It's part of the story. They're part of that, big part of that. But you got a shout out from someone we both know. I just got a text.
Oh my
Said,
gosh.
glad you are on with McKenzie. It's Carol Veroniak.
No kidding.
Yes,
I did.
yes.
Oh my gosh. Carol, I'm so sorry. I haven't talked to you yet. Carol, you have been so invaluable, because one thing I do want to say about Carol, she was one of the first people, actually, she probably was the first person to tell me like it is, to give me the blunt honesty that I really needed at the earliest stage in my collegiate career that was possible, to actually grow and refine my craft. And I just, it's hard to express into words how much of an impact she made on my life, because with the WNL Athletic Communications program, as grateful as I am to them, the fact they didn't have a sports specific department, a lot of the feedback I was getting was kind of an echo chamber of like, oh, you're doing great. Keep up, keep at it. Always, shoot for the stars.
Yeah.
And sometimes blunt honesty is what you need. These are your weaknesses. List them off for me so I can fix them directly and as quickly as possible. And I'm really glad I did, because she helped me grow in a short period of time that I can't thank her enough for.
Yep, and she just sent this. She said, "Well, you're welcome, rooting for both of you." Yeah, she's Carol Veroniak. We met. I think I connected with her on LinkedIn, and she was on my podcast. This was last year, 2 years ago, maybe now. And then we met at Super Bowl. We was
Oh, no kidding.
at Media Row, and we just connected. And ever since then, she's definitely, like I said, one of the best. And she, like I said, she'll tell you how it is. And but it's good. It's a great honesty. But we've had great conversations as well. So she said, you're welcome, rooting for both of us. So we appreciate you, Carol, and definitely that you're definitely going to be back on the podcast as well. Just connection. As you said, we talk about the networking connection, how important that is, and to have people like Carol Veroniak as well in our corner, and being able just to, you said, connect and check up on each other and things like that. I think it's wonderful. So for sure.
Yeah. And that brings up a whole new topic that is sometimes hard to talk about, and it's so prevalent in journalism, and that's the idea of constructive criticism and how to take it. And I know this is your podcast, but I have to flip the question on you and ask what's been some of the hardest critiques that you've had to stomach sometimes?
That's a good question. That is a really good question. So you're a podcaster too and a reporter, so you know how to flip it out on.
You can't blame me. You always gotta be on.
No, I appreciate that. Let's see. Hearing, when you reach out to someone, hearing no, I think that's one thing. I've learned now that it's not the end if you hear no or anything like that. I think it's more of, okay, I have to continue to keep moving on. I got to continue to keep being persistent, continue to keep at it. And you said, like, I reach out to a lot of different people, and I want a lot of people on the podcast just to hear their stories, but I know time and other things to do. Some are just, too busy and things like that. And you can't take a lot of these things personal. And I've learned that a long time ago. They can't take any of that personal. You just got to continue to keep moving on, because there's going to be other times you're going to hear no. There's going to be other times you're going to, I wanted this guest on the show. But if I don't hear that, it's like, but I think, blunt criticism, taking that and really really appreciating it and moving forward and using that as like, okay, I can learn from this too, learn from that criticism. I think that's another thing. There's quite a bit. There's a few, but those are two of the main things that I can say throughout this journey of journalism and podcasting that I've learned that you got to continue to keep moving forward. And you might only get 10 people watch your podcast. You might get hundreds of people to watch it, but I love what I do. So I think that's a really, I think I love it. And I just love to hear the storytelling. And I think that's why I have this I'm using this platform to have people like you on and others to share their stories.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned the whole, you know, hearing no sometimes and accepting it, because I mentioned earlier, I had my first station reach out to me after I applied to it in 20 minutes, but I also had my first no in 4. So
Yeah.
it was sometimes you have to wait for the opportunity, and you have to know that not everyone's going to say yes, not everything's going to be right for you, and hearing no can be sometimes the most valuable thing you can ever hear.
Exactly. And another example of that is when the network did get picked to go to Super Bowl Media Row 2 years ago. And I had the opportunity to go 2 years ago, and I had an amazing time. It's always been my dream to go on Media Row, Radio Row. And I finally got to do that, interview a lot of different people. And at that time thinking, okay, we made NFL Super Bowl Radio Row. Now, okay, what are the opportunities? You get credentials, and you reach out to try to get credentials. You're not always going to get those. And at that time, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I made it. Oh, now I'm going to just get whatever I apply for. Gonna get those credentials. But then kept getting here. No, I got no for some of the WNBA stuff and others. So yeah, it can be discouraging in a way, like you said, but it's just maybe it wasn't, just like I said, it wasn't the right time. I've heard no from the Eagles media. That was one thing I wanted to do, get a credential for even a preseason game and things like that. But you just can't stop. I think that's great advice too. You can't stop. You got to continue to keep pursuing. If you really want to do this, you got to really just keep at it and keep showing your passion. And there will be other opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm so appreciative when I do get a firm no versus someone who is kind of just egging you along, saying, maybe, knowing deep down that it's going to be a no. Especially, I mean, you have to understand it from a podcaster perspective when you're asking a guest if they can come on, and they're always kind of like, yeah, maybe we'll see if we can find the time, and they never solidify that date. It's annoying, and it's wasting energy that you could a lot to another guest, and that's why those no's are just as valuable as those yeses sometimes.
Yeah, you gotta I don't take it personal no more, and I've been learned that years ago, and now I just say, hey, okay, maybe it wasn't the right fit, right time, maybe next time, and I just move forward to the next, and so it's that's truly some and that was going to be my last question, or one of my last questions. What's the advice? And you got we hit it on the head, like of that, like what advice would you give someone who wants to get into this business or media and journalism? And we kind of talked about the pros and cons of it, but there's still good value in. We still need journalism. We still need that. Good. And there's a lot of good journalism and storytelling. But what advice would you give someone that would come to you and ask and say, hey, I want to get in. I want to be where McKenzie is. What would you say to them?
It's a question I actually ask a lot of people whenever I do get the opportunity to ask them. And you always hear, never turn down an opportunity, always keep at it, always keep trying. And as valuable as that advice is, the one piece of advice that truly was the most valuable to me, made the biggest impact on how I viewed the industry, was don't view everyone, whether they're one step ahead of you, 10 steps ahead of you, or one step behind you, as your competition, because you can learn something from everyone. It's so often that, I mean, particularly with women in sports and in sideline reporting, there's a little bit of a like a cattiness. They always want to beat out some other person for that job, and there's nothing wrong with healthy competition, but you can really learn something from everyone in the industry, everyone practicing the trade. Maybe there's elements of someone's broadcast style that you can implement into your own. And because that was the mentality I went into my pursuit of sports media, sports journalism with, because I grew up in such a competitive household, is I had to view everyone as competition, as someone I needed to beat out for whatever fictitious job I wanted one day, when I really should be looking at them as an opportunity to learn and people who can build my network, someone I can grow alongside with. And, by strengthening my own craft, maybe that's how I stand out above the rest.
Yeah, I like that. And it's right. You're right. It's a competitive field, as we talked about earlier. And I mean, by nature, it's all competition, and we're all, applying for the same type of jobs, the same type of going to these events. And there's some that are just more beyond. They go a little extreme when it comes to this, but I love seeing people win. And I really do. And when, like I say, you're doing something great, and shout it out like, oh my goodness, McKenzie's doing this. This is great, and you made it here. That's great. And I see that, the steps you took to get there. It's no animosity or anything like that. It's, I've come to a realization too that you just get too old for that. And yes, it is competition, and it's great, and healthy competition is wonderful. We played sports, and we know competition and all that, but I see, like, if someone gets a job of that in this position, it's like, yeah, great, that's good for them, and it's a win. So I just love seeing people win, especially in this industry.
Absolutely, couldn't have said it better.
No doubt. All right. Well, McKenzie, this has been so much fun. Really, really appreciate your time. And I know, like I said, we went a full hour, which I kind of had a feeling once we were talking and things like that. I was like, this is gonna go really good. So, but I really appreciate you doing this and the time. Got to do it. I hope we can do this again in the future as well. But let everyone know where they can follow you on social. Or they want to ask you a question and follow your journey, and tell everyone what's next for McKenzie in the next 3 to 6 months. Kind of alluded to a lot of it, but what's next for McKenzie for the rest of the year as well?
You got it. So my primary Instagram account is McKenzie_Kane 44. I also just created a sports specific account 2-3 days ago. It's McKenzie Kane Sports, all straight through. I've got a YouTube that's Kenzie_Kane. You can see all of my interviews that I've posted there, all my long form, short form, anything. I've got the podcast, Chick with a Mic. That's or Chick with the Mic. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. There's a funny story behind that. That's my shameless plug. You got to tune into episode 1 to hear that funny story about how that name came to be. I am trying to get more active on X. That's Kenzie_Kane 44 as well. By all means, send me a DM. I'm happy to hear any story ideas. If you just want to gab about sports, of course, I'm going to have an opinion. And like you said, in terms of the next steps for me, I am headed up to Tennessee in 3 weeks. It's scary, but it's inevitable. It's bound to happen sometime. I'll be up at WJHL in Johnson City, Tennessee. I'll be their weekend sports anchor. I'll do weekday sports reporting, and we'll see what Tennessee has in store for me, because I am so stoked.
I know you are. And like I said, congratulations on all the success and more success as well. Last one, forgot to ask about the podcast, of course.
Yes.
We're doing a podcast. That was one of the questions. Chick with the Mic podcast. Talk a little bit about just a little background. This will be the last question, but a little bit of background of the podcast.
Courtney, you know me now. I can talk for forever.
Yeah, I know, right. But hey, you can go as long as you want. But yes, you know.
Yes. So, Chick with a Mic. It was actually an assignment for class. I was in Professor Steve Cross. He was our radio station manager, and he taught audio editing and vocal development. And our final project was a podcast episode. It had to be at least 30 minutes long. You can invite a guest on if you wanted to. So I invited out one of the assistant football coaches, and that 30-minute podcast turned into 3 hours of conversation that I ended up cutting down to about 45 minutes because no one wanted to listen to 3 hours of us talking back and forth. But and you know, I'll give the short story of how the name came to be. One of the first interviews I ever did was for baseball, and I asked the coach, "Hey, can you send so and so my way after the game?" He said, "Yeah, not a problem. I'm going to set my mic up. We're framing it up on home plate." He yells into the dugout super quick, "Yo, Johnson, whatever his last name was. Yo, Johnson, can you go talk to the chick with Mike over there super quick?" And I took that line, chick with the mic, and I made it my whole brand because that's what I was on that campus. Nobody really knew me except for that person, that chick with the mic over there. And I decided to own it, and it's been awesome ever since. So I've had a bunch of different coaches on the podcast. I've had a bunch of different athletes because I wanted to use it as a medium of learning the lives of these coaches and athletes outside of whatever their respective sport was. Because, we all know the people on our campus as the professional or as the starting quarterback. We know who our star point guard is, but do you know that they have a side business polishing up shoes, that they're a DJ, that they're at the school, that they had no intention of playing, basketball at the school. They actually wanted to go run track somewhere else, and they just happened to go down a different path. And you hear all of the stories. I mean, it's what you do with yours. It's learning the paths and the stories and the different careers of whoever you want to. And for me, it was the people on the campus of Washington and Lee. I've had the opportunity to expand that scope of guests from just coaches and athletes to people in the broadcast field as well, in the sports broadcast field. And I'm excited for a couple of fun podcast guests that I've got in store. So I can't name drop them yet, but I definitely recommend tuning in because it's going to be exciting.
All right. Well, tune in, like, subscribe, all those things, share, reach out. Everything that McKenzie just explained on it. But McKenzie, it's like I said, it was a pleasure getting to know you. And again, many blessings and success to you, and more success for you moving forward. And we definitely got to do this again. We probably could have went 3 hours, and I'm one of those types that would listen to a 3-hour podcast because this is so I love it. I love podcasts. I love listening to new podcasts, different podcasts, and I'll be the one to listen. It might take me a couple of days, but I will listen. I will get that whole 3 5-hour podcasts. I've done it. I've done that before. I've done 4-hour myself as well. I've done a 3-4-hour podcast, and I've listened to many that are long, 2-3 hours too. So I know all about that. So I really appreciate that. It's a lot of grind work.
It's just something about the headphones and the microphone in front of you that keeps you wanting to keep going.
Yeah, you're conversating. Yeah. It's when you're having a great conversation, it's like talking on the phone. It's like you just 2 hours. You're like, oh my God, I talked to them for 2 hours. I can't believe it. But for the time, I will cut it there because I know we could go for another hour. But I know we probably got other things to do and sleep. I
got to start packing.
And I got
to head to Tennessee.
There you go. Yeah, you got a couple of weeks. You got to get ready. So, McKenzie, I really do appreciate you, and thank you again. And this was a lot of fun. But again, thank you, and best of luck with everything you got going on. As well.
Absolutely, Courtney. Thank you for setting this up. I had a blast. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, you enjoy, and best of luck, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.